Hello all. Today we'll be discussing a very important topic in the geomorphology, that is rocks. So today's session we will be doing a depth analysis of what are rocks, what are its various types, what is the rock cycle, how the rocks are composed because of this rock cycles, and we'll also be seeing the economic importance of rocks. So, before moving into this topic, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Krish Nayak. I'm a software developer by profession and an UPSC aspirant. So, please do watch this video till the end because this session actually has a lot of information about rocks. We'll be covering each and everything. We'll be covering what are the types of igneous rocks, what are sedimentary rocks, how sedimentary rocks, different kind of sedimentary rocks are formed, through which all ways it is formed. We'll also be discussing about metamorphic rocks and their economic importance too. So let us move ahead. And first topic is what are rocks? So rocks, by the shape and size, you can say that it is of various colors. This colors are actually formed due to different kind of minerals. So here you can directly say that rock is nothing but a combination of minerals that are tightly coupled against each other. So they are various minerals that are tightly coupled, and due to the minerals over here, it gives different colors and it varies from specimen to specimen. So we know that each rock is unique as the composition of rock varies from specimen to specimen. So if we understand this rock, we will be able to understand the makeup of the earth, the various landforms, the various hilly structures, the various kind of valleys that we get, which is basically like combination of different types of rocks that are spread through it. So rocks are also very economical vital. They are the minerals that are extracted are used in are having a very good economic importance. It is being used in many industries and in various fields. So the next thing is that we are also going to define the what are the types of rocks. So the types of rocks, as said over here, is basically there are three types. The igneous rocks, the sedimentary rocks, and the metamorphic rocks. These igneous rocks are nothing but they are solidified from the magma and the lava that comes out from our mantle to the outside of the earth. As soon as this magma and lava comes out, this gets solidified and it basically forms igneous rocks. This kind of rocks does not have any fossils since it is actually getting formed from the magma. Similarly, we have the sedimentary rocks. Now, once which is formed over here after coming out from the mantle itself. At that time, what it happens due to weathering and erosion, this gets washed out and it reaches the seashore. Once it reaches the seashore, all the sedimentary gets compacted, and due to the cementation process, they form into a sedimentary rocks. So this process is basically called as lithification. Now, after that, the next stage is how it gets formed into metamorphic rocks. Now, sedimentary rocks, what happens, like as we know that in the conversion, when we have two plates that are converging against each other, right? So one of the plate gets destroyed when it enters inside the other plate, basically below the other plate. Once it goes below the other plate, at that time this particular magma, right, it dissolves that particular plate, and at that time, due to intense heat and pressure, those particular sedimentary rocks get converted into a metamorphic rocks. Now, metamorphic rocks, after that, once it completely enters into the mantle region, it gets dissolved and again it forms magma. Now, this particular thing again happens, this cycle rotates each and every time, and a new rocks gets created, and again weathering and erosion will happen. That will get transported to the shores of the seas or oceans where it forms sedimentary rocks, and again the metamorphic rocks will be created due to high pressure and um, basically heat and pressure. So let me just tell you all the information about igneous rocks now in depth. So first of the point that we need to make a note of, igneous rocks are basically formed out of the magma and the lava and are known as primary rocks. Since these are the rocks that are created for the first time, we'll treat it as the primary rocks. So in the igneous rocks, we basically have two kind of rocks that are getting formed uh, in the initial stages. Suppose this magma and lava, this magma when it is coming through the volcanoes, right? When it's coming out, there may be a situation that it may get solidified at this depth itself, right? So once it gets solidified, there is also a different structures that are formed inside the earth itself. So we'll be discussing about that too. So usually when the magma actually gets solidified within the earth itself, they actually create some smaller and smoother grains when compared to the igneous rocks that are formed outside. So based on this solidification, we would like to define. Like usually igneous rocks are actually of two types. One is the intrusive rocks. Intrusive rocks is basically the rocks that are actually getting solidified inside the earth itself before coming out. And the other one is extrusive rocks. Extrusive rocks are basically those lava that are coming out and getting solidified into an igneous rocks. The the best example in India, we have the Deccan Trap, right? Usually in the Deccan region of the Indian, basically where Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka are there. At there we have this type of lava, basically the lava getting formed into an igneous rocks. So that is the basic example. Now let us discuss about the different types of igneous rocks in detail. So as we said that igneous rocks, we just actually discussed that there are two types of igneous rocks. One is intrusive rocks and one is extrusive rocks. So let us discuss in depth about intrusive rocks. Sometimes what happens, like the magma that is coming out, right? It may not reach the top surface of the earth itself. So due to which the molten matter instead cool down at a very depth in the earth. It does not come out, instead it cools down here itself. So this results to form a various kind of structures inside the earth itself. So basically we have various structures called as volcanic cone, which will they are basically the magma that gets dissolved in the mouth of the volcano itself, volcano mouth. Similarly, there are other type of structures called as sill. Similarly, pluton, flow, dike, laccolith. So lopolith is also one more type which will be actually creating structures within the earth inside the earth itself. So these are basically all the intrusive kind of rocks. Now we need to discuss what are extrusive, basically lava or volcanic rock or extrusive rocks. Now this magma, when they have enough temperature, and when they come out, when they have that particular pressure to come out, once it comes out, this forms an igneous rocks. They, as soon as they come out, the main property is that they get cooled rapidly. Once it once it gets cooled down rapidly, it initially forms igneous rocks. Then again the same process starts where it will have weathering will happen. It'll create a sedimentary rocks. Then under intense pressure and temperature, it gets created into crystalline rocks. So the best example of this kind of extrusive rocks are basically basalt. Um, Basalt is the example of extrusive rocks where it comes out and gets solidified and gets cooled down rapidly. So these are the different types of igneous rocks we had. One is intrusive, one is extrusive. Now we have also discussed about the intrusive. Here various kind of structures gets created like dikes, sill, um, pluton, pegmatite, and all. So this is the extrusive rocks basically that gets formed outside. It may also form layer by layer based on how oftenly the magma comes out. Similarly, these are the intrusive layer. So let us see what are the various economic importance of igneous rocks. Now, as you know, magma is actually a chief source of metal ores. Many of them are associated with this particular igneous rocks. The other point is that minerals of great economic value are found in this igneous rocks, such as magnetite, iron, nickel, copper, lead, zinc, chromite, manganese, gold, diamond, and platinum. There are many more. So, this igneous rocks are having a great importance value. One is the metal ores, one is various minerals of great importance value. They also form a part of a building material as they come in very beautiful shades because they have some different structure, colors. So because of that, they may also be used in building materials. So this is what all we define. We actually got the information about sedimentary. Now, sorry, igneous rocks. Now the next rock is the sedimentary rocks. In the sedimentary rocks, as I said, like once the magma comes out of the volcano, right, then it solidifies fast and it actually forms the igneous rocks. Then based on weathering process, some external agent, due to external agent, weathering and erosion happens on that sedimentary rocks and they gets collected near the seashore or inside the ocean water, and they in turn through compaction turn into rocks that is called as sedimentary rocks. And I also discussed that this process is basically called as lithification. So the most important thing, this sedimentary rocks, it covers 75% of the earth crust, but by the volume in the way of volumetrically, it occupies only 5%. The main property of the sedimentary rocks are they are layered or stratified of varying thickness. The best example of sedimentary rocks are shale, shale, sandstone, and all. This kind of examples we have heard of many things. So the sedimentary rocks are also formed through various modes. You can discuss about modes, right? Through various ways, the sedimentary rocks are created. First is the mechanically formed, second is organically formed, and third is chemically formed. We'll be discussing about this all. So mechanically formed. The mechanically formed is basically dependent on external agents like running water, wind, ocean currents, ice, and many more things. So any external agent that actually leads to the erosion of a particular igneous rocks, it forms that particular rocks into an sedimentary rocks through compaction. So this is the basic example of how the mechanically formed sedimentary rocks are created. Now, in the second option that we have organically formed sedimentary rocks. Now you know that when the plants and animals dies, right, their remains are buried under the sediments. So once they are buried under the sediments, due to heat and pressure from the overlying layers, their composition undergoes a change, and it usually takes a lot of time. It does not happen in just 1 or 2 days. It may take million to million of years. So when this composition takes place, there are various kind of other sedimentary rocks that get created. The best example is coal. Now you know that for the creation of coal, the remains of the plants and animals are they get buried under the sediments, and due to intense heat and pressure, it takes a lot of time, and the coal and then the byproduct called coal is getting created due to that mechanism. So usually the plant remains gives the plant remains that gets buried under the sediments gives the rise to the coals, and whereas the animal uh, and the animal remains that are buried under the sediments usually give the creation of some petroleum or crude oil products. So and the other example of this type of organically formed is also limestone. Limestone, as we know that it is also composed of shells and skeletons of dead marine animals that were living in a shallow depth region of a water or sea or a lake. So these are the basic characteristics of organically formed. We have just discussed about how organically formed sedimentary rocks are created. These are basically due to various plants and animals remains. Now, the third point is chemically formed sediments. Now, as we know that in some of the places we have a lot of minerals in the water. Now, once that water gets evaporated, only that minerals are remaining, and due to that, various kind of structures get formed. The best example is stalactites and stalagmites. So I'll just show you the image how it looks. So I think you have heard of this kind of caves in Mexico. Now, in that particular water, they had calcium carbonate in their water combined with the water itself. And once the water gets evaporated, the remaining parts form this kind of cavey structures. The upper part is called stalactite, and the lower part is called stalagmite. So this is one of the example of chemically formed sedimentary rocks. They are very, these are very beautiful. You can just check it out in Google. This caves looks like all the way like this calcium carbonate is actually spreaded like anything once the water is getting evaporated. Cool. So we are also going to discuss now about the economic significance of sedimentary rocks. Um, First of all, many minerals, right, like hematite, iron ore, phosphate, building stones, coals, petroleum, and materials used in basically industries comes out of this sedimentary rocks. So one of the best thing is the petroleum, right? All the petroleum byproducts, petroleum that you just basically have the crude oil. It is due to this, and other minerals like bauxite, manganese, tin are also derived from the sedimentary rocks. So this is what is the economic significance of sedimentary rocks. The next we are going to see is the metamorphic rocks. Now, basically, what does metamorphic mean? It is nothing but it is a change of form. The form, due to something, a particular material changes its form to some other form. So here, the metamorphic forms is usually created under the action of various pressure, volume, and temperature changes. Metamorphism occurs when rocks are forced down to lower levels by tectonic process or when molten magma rising through the crust comes in contact with the crucial rocks. So now as I showed you from this diagram, right? This diagram as I showed you, this sedimentary rocks once through the tectonic process, right? When the molten magma rising through the crust comes in contact with this particular sedimentary rocks, due to intense heat and pressure, uh, it leads to the form of different kind of metamorphic rocks. So this is how that complete process happens. So in this process of metamorphism, some rock grains or minerals gets arranged in layers or lines. So there may be various layers or lines that is getting created over here. So and basically we call this process as foliation or lineation. So that is what is about the metamorphic rocks. The basic examples are slates, marble, gneisses. So these are the things. So we may also define like there are various causes of the metamorphism also that are happening. As we know that since plate moves due to the convergent moving plates towards each other, suppose if both are land, due to the formation of mountain, because there will be intense pressure between when two plates are actually meeting with each other, and they actually form bigger mountains such as Himalayas and all. So such kind of movement actually causes a change in pressure, volume, and temperature, because of which various kind of metamorphic rocks gets created over there. So these are the main cause of the metamorphism. Apart from that, uh, there are also some other properties called as thermal metamorphism. Uh, and they are also called as they are also other process called as dynamic metamorphism. So let me just define what is thermal metamorphism. Thermal metamorphism is nothing but the change of form or recrystallization of minerals or material of sedimentary and igneous rocks under the influence of high temperature. So if there is an high temperature that is happening when the sedimentary rocks are actually once the sedimentary rocks from the ocean actually meets the magma, once it goes below the other plate, at that time what happens, due to high temperature, the metamorphism occurs, and this type of metamorphism is basically under called as thermal metamorphism. So this is under the change of heat due to the temperature. This rock gets transformed to some other metamorphic rocks. Now, we'll also be discussing about dynamic metamorphism. This refers to the formation of metamorphic rocks under the stress of pressure. Dynamic metamorphism, you should understand, like when there is a change in pressure, at that time that particular rocks changes into some other metamorphic forms. So we have two different, like one is thermal and one is dynamic. Dynamic is for pressure and thermal is for temperature. So here are some of the examples that we have defined over here. One is the slate, marbles, clay, shale, coal. So these are all, sorry, not coal, sorry. The best example of metamorphic rocks are slate, anthracite, marbles, quartzite. So these are some of the examples that I have not mentioned here, but I'm just calling it out. So this is what is about the rock cycle, the various kind of rocks. We have discussed about the various kind of rocks. Apart from that, the types of igneous rocks. We have also discussed about the sedimentary rocks and how through the three process, that is mechanically, organically, chemically, how it is formed. Apart from that, we have also seen the examples of chemically formed rocks. We have also seen economic significance of sedimentary rocks. Apart from that, metamorphic rocks also we have discussed, and we have actually discussed two types through which the metamorphic rocks is created. One is thermal and one is dynamic metamorphism. So the thermal metamorphism is basically due to high temperature change, and dynamic metamorphism is under the stress of pressure. So these are all the basic things that we have discussed. Do let me know, like, if you want to discuss any other topics. I'll be happy to take a session on it and provide one more video. Till then, have a great day. Bye.